for the class is www.kellogg.edu, and then just a POSC for after the / and the address bar. That'll take you to what we've been calling a portal. It's titled a portal, but there's different websites linked to that spot. Including links to your federal government, local government, and state governments. And then at the top, of course, is our home page, which you're going to want to, again, if you weren't here on Tuesday, you're going to want to know. Anybody who's not here on Tuesday? Okay, so I'm speaking to you three. All right. Website's very easy to get to. Again, you go to KCC's main site, just after that last /. Get cued in here. Okay. After that last /, just add a POSC for political science, POSC. And that takes you again to the porthole. Looks like I got to reduce that banner down a little bit. And then at the top there, yes, Cheesy McCheese is there. Right. You know you're there when you come to that. Hard living. All right, and then if you click on the agenda page, right, this is, again, you three. This is what everybody else has a copy of today, right? Am I correct? Everybody was given an assignment? Good. Everybody was given an assignment to copy this off and have it with you, slip it in your textbook. All right, if you have still yet to do that, please do that. One, it's an indication that you know how to get to the website, which is important when it comes to the lecture notes, final review guide, and just really knowing what's going on in class. Right? Kind of hate that question. Hey, we got a test today or anything? Right here. So you find your way to this website and then print this off, slip it in your book. If you don't lose it, then you have a quick reference guide. If you do lose it, you know how to get back to it and print off another copy. Okay? So I want you to go to this website, print off a copy of this. The other reason I want you to be able to get to this website is when it comes to the review teams, and then further down the legislative review, they're hot linked right from this agenda. So you can click on them, there's your assignment. You click on this one, there's your assignment, okay? So you want to know how to get there. Hence the first assignment. The other reason I wanted you to pull it up, print it off, is that you could take and combine it, compare it to your own schedule. I had a student in last class, she's in the reserve, she has leadership training. She knows for a fact that she's going to be gone from April 8th to April 20th. Okay, well, good. Let me know that stuff now. What happens here? Okay, well, you're going to end up missing a major test. You're going to have to make that up. All right, we allow for that. So she knows, I know, we're on the same page, and there are no surprises as we get closer to those dates. And you guys will want to do that as well. Any appointments that you might have that you have scheduled, a couple, 3, 4 weeks out, you might want to reschedule them if it falls upon a group test, which there aren't makeups for, or even a major test, which we can make up, but again, it's more difficult. Okay? Questions? All right, and then the last thing, and I do think we talked about it a little bit, but the last thing we had to want to kind of touch on is the grading weight, and as well as the scale. Scale is weighted to the top. There's no doubt about it. You have 100 to 70. You have your C to A, and then your 70 to 60 is your C, D, and E. So it's real tight down through here. Of course, there's a lot of range for E. But it's not difficult to pass the class. Basically, you come, you'll pass the class. Okay, you got to take the test. All right, there's no question about that. But the very nature of the test, the fact that we go over the same information and the group quizzes that we go over the major tests, and that information then makes the final exam. Again, just that repetition, hitting those high points again and again and again and again and again, really lend themselves to you getting that basic knowledge that you need to get that C and get out of here. Now, getting up into the A range, a little more difficult, okay? Talking exceptional work for the exceptional grade. You'll see that the final exam is weighted very heavily. It's the capstone of the class. Okay? Don't let that freak you out. Unless you're a bad test taker, you know the information, but you still choke on tests. All right? And again, this class may not be for you if that is you. But if you're worried because it's a test and that you never know what's going to be on the test, you'll know what's going to be on this test. Because you'll have seen it on the group quizzes, you'll have seen it on the major test, you'll be given a final exam review, we'll go over it for review, we'll get you prepped and ready for the final exam. But it is a test that's just asking for what you know. No groups, no notes, no books, right? Just you and your test. Everything before that, you can use your handwritten notes, except on makeup tests. You can use your handwritten notes. For the first group test, I'll even let you use your book. Okay, so I want to get you, wade you into those frigid waters one step at a time, and then throw you off the deep end when we get to the final exam. Okay. Questions? Okay. Good. Great resource for you. Lecture notes are online. So what we talk about in class, it's right here for you. Not all inclusive. All right, it's not the full breadth of what we'll talk about in class, but it hits the high points. This is from chapter 1. Okay? There's that quality of life hill, for example. All right, and then, even tighter, if you go on to the next chapter, you get the highlights from chapter 1. I guess this is what I would at least expect to make sure is on your overview, is some semblance of what we add into the review, because obviously those, we hit on that. We haven't gotten through all the way through democracy and all the ideologies yet, but we're going to get through that. And that's chapter 1 stuff. And then if you go on to the next chapter, you'll see the same thing. There's a review of chapter 2 at the beginning of the chapter 3 lecture. It's not a replacement for coming to class, but it is a nice supplement if for whatever reason you do miss a class, or just simply use it for studying. Okay, or you weren't sure when I had written chicken scratch on the board, which I'm very good at. You can come back and pull this up and you say, okay, here's what he was talking about. Okay? Well, democracy, if we left off of it, before we get, let me just hit government and politics real quick one more time. The two go together. When government goes with politics, again, like peanut butter and jelly, like peas and carrots. Politics does not have to go with government. You can have politics without government. Politics is the process of deciding who gets what. It's a process. And that process can take place at home. All right? Your parents tell you what to do, or your mom tells your dad what to do, or whatever the case may be. That's still politics. All right? Deciding the process, deciding who gets what. Happens in the office. Which office you get, what your office are, which classes you teach. There's a process for that. I wouldn't call those government. I wouldn't call those government entities. But if you look at government specifically, what we call government, the institutions, the people, they are the ones, that is their function. They decide who gets what, in broad terms, in terms of resources. So again, the government's the people and the institutions that carry out the politics. And the politics is the process of deciding who gets what. Or, in more heady terms, the process of allocating scarce resources. Very good. And scarce meaning not a lot of, or not an infinite amount of. And resources meaning something of use, something of want, or even need. Okay, something of value. And because there's not a lot of this resource, chances are that there's going to be more demand than there is supply. And as such, the question then is, how do we meet out that limited supply? Devoid of government, it would be a system of might makes right. I want it, you have it, you better be big enough to stop me from getting it. All right? Or, I got it, you want it, you're bigger than me. I make a pact with two other little guys, say, hey, listen, I'll give you a third of it, we're together. And we may ward off these bigger predators. Okay? The law of the jungle still exists for the beasts of the jungle. That's survival.